everyone would completely blank on everything else except that target, and we just call it like communication brain fog, because that's actually what happened to us.
Well, I'm joined right now in week 8 by Stixxay, the first day. After a match against FlyQuest that was painful for me to watch. I'm going to talk to Stixxay a little bit about that right now with coverage presented by OmniSlash. So, Stixxay, what was that game like for you? Because I think up in the press room, we were watching it, and it felt like there were a lot of moments where FlyQuest should have been able to close it out, but they didn't. And then moments where you guys seemed to have control of the game, and then something went weird. Like, it was just very odd.
Yeah, I think odd is definitely the right word. It was also very painful to play.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we pretty much had like the game secured through our bottom lane advantage. We just counterpicked Zyricon with Kaelin Morgana, and then that guy had like 4 CS and 2 deaths, and he was level 1, and I was like level 3 with like 30 CS or something. So the game was like pretty over. I think we just snowballed really slowly. In like our past experience playing that kind of thing, we would take the turret at like 5-6 minutes like that. But I think we were really slow to snowball, and pretty much what happened is their Zac just came bottom and ensured that their bottom lane wouldn't keep like inting. And then we were just doing our jungle camps, and we came down. We were just really slow to snowball, but we eventually got the turret, got dragon, stuff like that, and then we were just really slow to snowball after that. And then they got like a turret advantage because Cho'Gath just had banner. We picked also a really like poor top lane matchup, so their Cho'Gath just rushed banner and just ran around every wave, just bannering everything. And I was like, holy shit, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just had Kaelin, Orianna, and Morgana, so it was really hard for them to actually go on us. And I kind of just trapped whatever lane they walked up to. Ori also just wave clear, and then it's really hard for them to end the game. But yeah, and we eventually made the comeback.
Yeah.
So you made it out alive. What I mean, what do you think about FlyQuest as a team after that? Because I think from the bystander, it would be like, man, it felt like both those teams played really poorly. No offense to your team, but it did feel like it was a bit of a clown fiesta. But maybe it's just sort of that's a natural, because I was interviewing Afro after a similar match with 100 Thieves, and he was just saying, for a viewer, that looks like a mess, but it's kind of just how those two team comps like end up flowing through is it just looks really messy.
Yeah, I mean, I think from our side, it should have been a pretty clean snowball as to where we should have ended the game, 25 minutes or less.
Yeah.
But because we messed up, and also because FlyQuest got so behind early game, the game's just going to naturally drag on super long. And like I said, they can't really close out super easily. And yeah, we just have really good defense. So yeah, I don't know. I guess from the viewer's eye, it's probably like what are these teams doing? But for us, it's like, holy shit, we're fighting against the world or something, and it's like really stressful to play. So
Okay, so talking a little bit about you instead of the team. So it's a tough question for me to ask you because you and I are in pretty good terms or whatever. But I'm gonna be kind of blunt. There was a point around like week 4 or something where I had a conversation with somebody where the conversation was, is Stixxay the worst ADC in North America right now in NALCS? And I say this only because it feels like that's definitely not a conversation you could have right now. Like, you have been performing really solid in the past couple of weeks. People, I think, are feeling really good in your performance. I am curious how you feel about where you were at the start of the split versus now, and how offended you are by the question I just asked.
I think people are just really quick to jump on like someone could just have like one bad game and they're like, wow, he's underperforming so hard. And then the next game just like pops off and it's like, wow, that guy's insane.
Sure.
And yeah, I think for my team and me, there was a lot of like miscommunication. We had like really weird like structure very first few weeks of LCS, and I would say it made it really hard for us to succeed. And of course we changed all that stuff, but yeah, I think there's a lot of miscommunication, and my team in general, I felt like relies on communication like very heavily. And for example, like, you say like this target, this target, this target. What would pretty much happen is like everyone would completely blank on everything else except that target, and we just call it like communication brain fog, because that's actually what happened to us. And yeah, I don't know. We just had a pretty like poor idea of how to play our comps and stuff like that. So naturally, I'm going to look worse. And as we fix those things, I'm gonna look better. So
Sure.
I don't think necessarily I was playing like super bad. I think a lot of it was like just how our team was at the time.
So you don't perceive a pretty big difference in your skill level and sort of level you were playing at the start of the split versus now? Because like again, I feel like this is a pretty big conversation. You just feel like that's because of the communication fixes.
Yep. I actually feel like, I mean, of course I'm gonna get like naturally better throughout the split as I'm just playing a lot more games. But at the beginning of the split, I also felt like I was like really good going into the split, and then of course we lost like the first few weeks of LCS, and then it was like I still didn't really ever like question myself individually. It was always just like these communication things are really like messing us up and making it hard for me personally to succeed, but as for everyone else too, it's just really hard to succeed.
Sure. Speaking of you and kind of moving out to your bot lane, Biofrost, from the interview I did last week with Tony, it sounds like he is now the shot caller for CLG, or the primary shot caller. What has that been like for you guys, and how do you think it's working out?
It's been interesting. Vincent, when he first came on the team, he was very quiet, and he just said the basic stuff that supports communicate, like, hey, we should get vision here, stuff like that. And then we transitioned to him being like the primary shot caller. So he went from like being the more quieter person to being like, okay, guys, do this. Everyone, drop whatever you're doing, do this, like stuff like that. And I think he is just a very like passive person by nature, and he's definitely working on like being more aggressive with those things. But I think right now we're at like a decent baseline. I think we have a bit to work on in terms of like gameplay and even in communication, but it'll only keep improving. So,
do you still have playoff hopes in your dreams? Because it's a tough path for you guys to do it, but you still can do it after this match.
Yeah, I mean, so my ultimate goal is, I think the scenario I saw was like TSM and us are fighting for the last spot, and then we just knock TSM out of playoffs, because that would be just fucking great. But yeah, I do think we can make playoffs still.
Okay. And what is the difference between CLG now versus CLG that was struggling so much in the first half of the split? Is it literally just that you guys have solved like the shot caller communication issues with Biofrost stepping in, or like what is it that's going to allow you to potentially knock TSM out?
I would just say a lot of us got a lot more confrontational about things we're doing in game, and I would say in specific we had like a really inefficient post-game process. So whenever we go after a game, we weren't really talking about the stuff we need to fix those mistakes and improve for the next game. Yeah. And once we brought that up, like we aren't really getting much out of these games. Even just every scrim is just like, okay, we're talking about like one thing, but we're not talking about all the mistakes that we're making. So these mistakes just keep piling up, and then they even happen on stage. Which I actually forgot the question.
The question was just what's the difference? Is it not just the communication? Is there something else that's allowing you guys to like be so good that you could potentially knock TSM out?
Yeah, so like I said, we got a lot more confrontational about people's mistakes individually, and personally, I felt like I had to impact other people's roles a lot more and be like, hey, I think you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, stuff like that. And it does seem like that helped a lot, and I think just a lot more of that is going to fix a lot of our issues. So.
Very good. Well, Stixxay, is there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Thank you guys for supporting us as always, and hopefully you guys are still with us for the wild playoff run that we're going to have this year.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Hey guys, it's me, Travis Gafford. You may know me from the interview that you just watched to the end, so that you're seeing the outro now. Wanted to give you a heads up that if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you're actually a better human being. And by the way, thank you so much to OmniSlash for making this all possible.